Hello students, good morning to all of you. I welcome you all in this lecture of Electrical Machine 1 and the code is EE205. Okay, so that is the code as per our university curriculum, that is SGV curriculum. So the code is EE205 and the subject name is Electrical Machine 1. And the unit which we are going through, that is the unit number 5, and the topic which we are going to cover today is the transformers, that is unit number 5, parallel operation of single phase transformers. Though if I'm talking about and I am taking the subject, your subject of electrical machine 1, so electrical machine 1 is the important subject of electrical engineering branch. And electrical machine 1 having the two parts, machine 1 and machine 2. So in this semester you are learning about the electrical machine 1, and in the next semester you are going to learn about the electrical machine 2. Now, if I'm talking about the electrical machine 1 and electrical machine 2, though my dear student, if I'm talking about the electrical engineering, so first we generate electrical engineering. If we generate electrical engineering, though we need a basic source through which we can convert into the another form. For example, if I'm talking about thermal power plant, so in thermal power plant we having a coal-fired thermal power plant I'm talking about. So in that, what we do basically, we have a boiler. In that we feed a coal basically. We burn that coal, and with the help of that burning of coal, we heat up the water. If water is heat up, now it is evaporate and convert into the steam, and steam having the kinetic energy. If we flow through a nozzle, if we flow it through the nozzle, though we having the kinetic energy, and that kinetic energy moves and basically moves towards and expand in the nozzle of turbine. If it expand in the nozzle of turbine, then what will happen? What we can say that if expand in a nozzle of the turbine, it rotates. So kinetic energy of the steam converted into the mechanical energy, and the mechanical energy of the turbine is converted into electrical energy with the help of alternator. So that alternator is again a machine. That alternator is again a machine, but in this semester and in this electrical machine 1 we are not studying about that alternator, but in next semester, or we can say the electrical machine 2, we are going to study about alternator. But now I converted the mechanical power, or transferred, or we can say convert from mechanical to electrical. But what I have to do, I have to transmit that electrical power, okay, from at different level. So first level is the 11 kV. I have to convert, the generation will be in the 11 kV, or maybe the more than it, 33 kV. So I have to convert that 33 kV into the 765 kV or 400 kV, whatever. So I need a system or a instrument which doing so. So that is your transformer. So that machine we are going to study, and we are going, basically we are studying this thing, that is in the unit number 5. So that transformer do what? Step up transformer. I'm telling what step up transformer. So that step up transformer basically convert, or basically step up the voltage level and convert 11 kV or 33 kV, whatever we have, into the 765 or 400 kV which we want. So we can transmit it, and then we having a level. For example, 765 are for the tie line, then we having the 400 kV, then we having the 220 kV, then we having the 132 kV, then we having the 33 kV, then we having the 11 kV. So what are these? These are the basically distribution, transmission, and the distribution layer. So we are stepping down, but we are stepping up and stepping down with the help of transformer. So transformer is a very necessary part that comes in the machine part, but that is a part of non-rotating machine. That is a part of non-rotating machine. If I'm talking another thing, that is industry. In industry, if I want to rotate something, I need a blower, I need a lift, I need a hoist, I need a crane. So I need a machines to operate that. That machine is your motor, which gives output mechanical but take electrical input. So that is motor that we are going to study, but that type of motor is DC. We can say in industry, in industry we use induction motor more. Most widely used AC machine, AC motor in industry is induction motor. So induction motor we are going to study in the next semester, or we can say the electric machine too. But in this semester we are going to study about DC motor. So we having DC motor, we having the DC generator. But nowadays DC generator become obsolete. Why it's become obsolete, my dear student? Because if I'm talking about the generator, so generator basically is a device which is used to convert mechanical power into the electrical power. So electrical power we are in the need, but we don't want, or we don't in a need of DC. We are in need of AC. because nowadays all the system are work with the help of DC, alternating current. Because in AC we having a very good facility that we can step up and step down. We can easily vary it. We can easily change it. But DC we can't do it. So if we want DC, so the simple procedure is to purchase a battery from the market of 12 volt. If I need 24 volt, then to use two batteries in a parallel. But if you want to, if you don't want to purchase battery, then purchase or make rectifier circuit and convert your 240 volt AC in your house into 6 volt or 12 volt by using transformer, and then rectify it into your desired level of voltage. So that we can do. But if I'm talking about the rotating machine, though in DC rotating machine we have two types of machine, generator and the motor. So that is what we are going to study, because the basics are there. So we have to understand the basics first, then we have to move further. Okay, first we have to understand the basics, then we have to go further. So as per your university curriculum, or we can say the machine subject contains, so first topic or first unit topic is magnetic field, or we can say magnetic circuit. So if I am talking about the magnetic field and magnetic circuit, though magnetic field is the representation of force of attraction and repulsion. If we having the force of attraction, if we having the force of repulsion, that means we are showing you a magnetic field. We having a magnetic field. So that magnetic field is basically the representation of what? It is a representation of a magnetic field. If I am having a magnetic field, my dear student, if I am having a magnetic field, so it means a magnetic field represented by a permanent magnet, or a, we can say, permanent magnet and electromagnet. So permanent magnet is a magnet which permanently gives you the magnetic field, which always persists a magnetic field, and we can't change it. We can't vary it. But the second option which I am giving you, that is the electromagnet, and which I am having basically, which all of us having, that is the electromagnet. So electromagnet we can make with the help of Biot-Savart law. What what is the statement of Biot-Savart law is that when we give a current to a coil, or when we flow a current to a coil, then we can find a magnetic field surrounded a coil. That is basically as per the Biot-Savart law. So in this, what I want to tell you, my dear student, though in a coil, if I am having a coil, so if I giving or I flowing a current in that coil, so that current of which is flowing in a coil meet with the turns of that coil. So Ni is ampere turn, that is mmf, that is a representation of magnetomotive force. So we are having magnetomotive force in that one. Okay, if I am having magnetomotive force, and if I basically do what, if I am having the reluctance in the magnetic field, so the mmf divided by the reluctance, we always having a flux, and flux is the representation of magnetic field. It is always represented by a line, just like your current, just like your rate of flow of charges in a electrical field. So that is the representation of current, but here we are having the basically the lines which showing you the direction, which flow in the direction, that is the representation of flux line. That is what? That is a representation of flux line we have. So I hope you understand about this. So we having the magnetic field. If I'm talking about the magnetic circuit, though we having the magnetic circuit of two types, basically series and parallel. If I'm talking about the series, so in series flux remains same, but mmf changes. But if I'm talking about the parallel, though in parallel similar to your electrical circuit parallel, though current changes in that electrical circuit parallel, though here in this magnetic field the flux changes. Okay, but the mmf remains same. Okay, though reluctance is what? Reluctance is a property of magnetic material that opposes the creation of flux. Okay, then we having the magnetic field density, that is represented by B, and it is always given by B by phi by A. Phi is the flux and A is the area. So flux per area we can also called as the magnetic field density, means Weber per meter square, because Weber is the unit of flux. So I hope you understand. Next we having basically the intensity. Intensity is the how much the mmf we have in a specified length. So mmf by length, we can say ampere turn per meter. I hope you understand. Okay, then we having the circuits we have. Then we having the BH curve. It is a curve which is drawn between B and H. So we, through BH curve we can identify that which material is suitable for making a core. Because as per the Biot-Savart law, a coil representing a magnetic field. So we have to basically gather that magnetic which is around that coil. So we need a core. Core is made up of ferromagnetic material, And ferromagnetic materials are nickel, cobalt, iron, steel sheets, alloy, silicon content steel. So many things we have. We can make a ferromagnetic material. So we have this. In the unit number 2, because this is all about the unit number 1, in unit number 2 we having the magnetomotive force and torque. So magnetomotive force take place when there is a current carrying conductor placed in a magnetic field. That is also a part of force law. So magnetic force we can achieve, we can have where we can have, my dear student, because if I am talking about the force law, then the force law tells you whenever there is a current carrying conductor, means conductor, if I am placing a conductor, my dear student, so conductor always having a carrying the current. So whenever there is a current carrying conductor placed on a magnetic field, it experience a force, it experience a force. And we, if we having the force, my dear student, if we having the force, so basically force we can get with the help of what, with the help of basically if the magnetic field we have and the current which is flowing through the conductor, means the velocity of the charge, so that velocity is b, and magnetic field is the velocity is v, and the magnetic field is b, and the current is I. So we can say BAL, we are finding the force, that is Lorentz force. If they are perpendicular to each other, then force will take place, force will act there. If we don't have, though no force will take place. So force is there, and if I am applying a force on something, on some where in a magnetic field, so due to their force we having the displacement, and we can say displaces we having the force into displacement, means F cross D. So that is the representation of torque. So torque is equals to F cross D. Okay, I hope you understand. So we having the torque and it will start rotating, that is the torque. So electromagnetic force we have as per the Lorentz force law, and then we have the torque, because torque is equal to F cross G, force into displacement, force cross displacement, force with having the displacement. So we having the torque. So it start rotating. So that is the torque. We can identify the torque in the basically open loop, like we having a paper, so we can identify this thing. If it is parallel, no force is there. If it is perpendicular, then we having a force. We also identify by the examples like relay. If I'm talking about the electromagnetic or electromechanical, or you can say static relay, relay is a protected device. So we can identify all these things with the relay working, with the measuring instrument working, like galvanometer and ammeter, voltmeter. So these are so many examples we have. Okay, then basically we have what, we having a motor in which we can find the application of this. Then we having the electromagnetic energy conversion. Now, my dear student, if I am talking about the electromagnetic conversion, means I am converting electrical power into the mechanical power and mechanical power into the electrical power. So we can do vice versa with the help of intermediate, or we can say coupling circuit. That coupling circuit is known as what? Is known as the magnetic circuit. And magnetic circuit I am talking about, it's of two types. We can say series and parallel. So So we need a magnetic circuit, we need a coupling circuit, we need an intermediate state, we need a state which is between these two. So that is your magnetic circuit. So if I am talking about the magnetic circuit, my dear student, though we can convert electrical into mechanical and mechanical into electrical with the help of force law. Four laws. Basically, four laws are there. First is the Biot. We talked a lot about this thing, and we having the Ampere circuit law. Then we having the force law that states whenever there is a current carrying conductor placed in a magnetic field, it experiences a force. And if force is applying on it, so torque will take place. So start rotate. So we are converting electrical into the mechanical with the help of magnetic. Fourth law is basically, we can say, the Faraday law of an electromagnetic induction, in which we having two statements. First statements stating that one, or telling that one, whenever there is a change in flux linkage, whenever there is a change in flux linkage, then there will be an induced EMF in that circuit. If circuit is closed, then we having a current. That current is known as induced current. So we having two things. We having two things. One is the basically flux linkage inducing an EMF, and second statement tells you the magnitude of induced EMF is always proportional to the flux linkage variation. So if there is a flux linkage variation and we are having the induced EMF, so they are we can say proportional. Okay, so these are these statements. So in this Faraday law of an electromagnetic induction, we are identifying that if we are changing the magnetic field with the help of some mechanical movement, so we can get electrical output. So mechanical to electrical, electrical to mechanical. We having these two energy conversion, very easy. Okay. Now, as per the Faraday law, Faraday doesn't tell you that how can we vary the magnetic field. There are two ways to vary the magnetic field. One way is having a moving coil which rotates and cuts the flux. Second is the flux is also of its alternating nature. So that is why the DC motor and DC machines works on DC, but transformer doesn't work on DC. Transformer always works on AC. Okay, I hope you understand. Now this is all about first and second unit. Then we have the third unit. So if I'm talking about the third unit, my dear student, so in third unit, if I'm talking about the third unit, the third unit is totally deals with the DC machine. Now the fundamentals of DC machine is basically we having a rotating machine. DC machines are also known as rotating electrical machines. So if I'm talking about rotating electrical machine, the rotating electrical machines are the machines or a device which is used to convert the one form of energy to the another form. One form of energy to the another means one form may be the electrical, another form will be mechanical. So they convert electrical to mechanical, mechanical to electrical. So I am talking about electrical input and the mechanical output. So we can take or we can get from the motor, and one is the mechanical input and getting electrical output, though it is from the generator. So we having motor, we having the generator. If I am talking about the motor, so motor works on the principle of electromagnetic induction. So the applications of motor are very wide, are very wide. We having we can say dryer, we having blower, we having hoist, we having cranes, we having excavator, we having elevators. So many applications we have. In mills we having this application, but generator having limited application. So generator become obsolete nowadays, because if we want DC supply, so what we can do, we use a rectifier and convert AC into DC directly, and convert by converting it we can use that output of DC wherever we want, wherever we are in a need, where we want to use it, where we having the application of it. So these are the basic thing basically about the whole, that is the motor and generator. But if I am talking about the construction part, so a machine is there, that is why it is known as machine, because construction is same, types are same, but the principle of operation is different. Because generator works on Faraday law of electromagnetic induction and Fleming right hand rule. But if I'm talking about motor, the motor works on electromagnetic induction or force law, Fleming left law. So the directions are opposite. Now see, in motor we having the clockwise direction, in generator we having the clockwise direction. But if I'm talking about the motor, we having the anti-clockwise direction. So clockwise direction and anti-clockwise direction. So what we can do, we can apply our laws, that is Fleming right hand rule for generator, Fleming left hand rule for motor. The constructions are construction part is same, because if I'm talking about the construction, though in construction, in machine, I'm talking about machine, whole machine, because we can convert a machine into generator, we can convert a machine into motor. If I'm giving a mechanical input to that machine, so it will give you the electrical output, that is a generator. If I'm taking output of that machine and giving another machine as input, that is electrical, and taking mechanical output, though it is a motor. So if we change the input and out, if we change the input, so the output will change. Okay, so in generator we having the EMF, that is known as generating EMF. But if I'm talking about the motor, it is also called as back EMF. The value is same, phi Z and P by 60. If I'm talking about the torque, because if I'm talking about the motor, my dear student, the motor we need a torque, because we want to rotate, we want to move something, so I need a torque. So torque is always given by, is proportional to the EB into I. It's proportional to the EB into IA, where EB is the back EMF and IA is the armature current. So EB we required with the help of this generating EMF equation, that is phi, that is flux, Z armature number of conductors, P number of poles, A phi Z and P by 60. A is the number of parallel paths, and it is depend on armature winding. If it is lap, A is equals to P. If it is wave, then A is equals to 2. Okay, so in, if I'm talking about the construction, though in construction we're having the yoke, outermost periphery, then we're having the field work as a stator. In field we having a pole core, pole shoe and pole winding. If I'm talking about the armature, though we having armature core of cylindrical structure, we can say field core and armature core is laminated to reduce eddy current loss, and we add the silicon content steel because we have to reduce the hysteresis loss also, and try to get the winding is highly inductive. Why I am telling you this highly inductive? Because it is low inductive, though resistance value is higher. If resistance value is higher, my dear student, the copper loss is maximum. So I square R loss is maximum. So what can we do? We try to use highly inductive winding if it is possible. If we are not getting, though, it might not be possible. So in armature, we having the armature core. It is of cylindrical structure. We having these slots. In that slots, we place the basically armature conductor, that is the armature winding, are of two types, lap and wheel. Then we having the important part, commutator, bidirectional to unidirectional, with the help of commutator lugs made up of copper. Then we having the brushes which carries the current from commutator and passes it to the terminals, so we can get the output from here. Okay, this is about the construction. So similar construction for motor, similar construction for generator, and we having the bearings and shaft that moves. With the help of bearing, we can move the shaft. The shaft is just like iron rod, on which we can easily mount our armature. Though we having types, if I'm talking about the types, though we having same types, self-excited and separately excited. So separated doesn't have any type, because if I am applying an external source, it is work as a separately excited. If I am talking about the self-excited, so self-excitation is basically work on the residual magnetism, the remaining magnetism, the empty, we can say remain magnetism or residual magnetism. So that magnetism we can use and uh, make excitation in two ways, three ways basically. We can connect field winding in series with the armature winding. We can connect, that is known as series home. We can connect field winding which create the magnetic field, and armature which rotates basically and carries the current by Faraday law of electromagnetic induction or electromagnetic induction. Okay, so if I'm talking about the field, so we're having in field winding, then we're having the armature winding. Field winding is there and armature winding. So if I am connecting the field winding in parallel to the armature winding, it is known as shunt mount. If I am connecting parallel and series both in a way, known as compound. In compound, we are having two types, cumulative and differential. What other types we have? Cumulative and differential. So if I am talking about the cumulative, so it is in the part of long shunt and short shunt, because we are having two types of shunt, either of long size, either of short size. If I am the long size, that is known as long shunt. If I have a size of short, then it is a short shunt. And cumulative and differential. So I hope you understand about this thing. Okay, next we have the DC machine motoring and generating actions. So in motoring and generating, we have studied about the characteristics. So many characteristics of motor and generator we have. Okay, uh, in motor we having the characteristic depend on speed, torque, and armature current. If I'm talking about the generator, though, we having open out, magnetization, saturation, so many characteristics we have. So we have studied a lot about this thing. Then we having the speed control, because if I'm talking about the motor, so in motor we are always having a problem or issue of speed. How we can we control? So if I want to control the speed, if I want to control the speed, my dear student, so I need speed control methods. So speed control can be do with the help of we can say the field flux, armatures, and voltage, and Wald-Unit method and Wald-Unit Eigner method. So we having so many methods. We have studied a lot about this thing. Then we having the we can say the testing, because if I am using a machine, so I have to test it. Why I am testing? Because I have to identify the losses. So three losses are there. First is the copper loss, I square. Then we having the core magnetic iron. All are three losses, in which we having the eddy current and hysteresis loss. Then we having the mechanical losses, friction and windage due to bearing, and windage means air gap between pole and its armature, that is the air gap. So it is a windage loss. Then we having the tests. So in, if I'm talking about the test, so in the test we having so many tests like direct and indirect. If I'm talking about the direct test, it is a Bragg test. If I'm talking the indirect test, so we're having two types, Hopkinson and Swinburne. Okay, Hopkinson and Swinburne. So two tests are having with us. So in this we can identify the constant losses, stray losses, magnetic losses, copper loss, and iron losses, and friction the mechanical losses. So we can easily identify. Through this we can identify the efficiency. Why I want to get the losses? Because if I am getting the losses, okay, I can easily identify. I and you can also easily identify the types of the efficiency we have, because losses are, it's just like we can see the limitations. Because if losses, more losses we have, then we having the lower efficiency. Okay, so losses will be minimized. So how can we minimize the losses? Eddy current we can you minimize with the help of the lamination, but hysteresis we can't do, because in hysteresis we have to use uh, silicon content steel and a proper cross section. So we can do with this help of this the elimination of losses. Okay, this all about of the fourth unit. Then we having the unit number 5, that is your transformer. So in transformer we have studied about the type of transformer. Basically, if I am talking about the type of transformer, so we having three categories. As per the supply, single phase and three phase, because transformer always works on AC. So single phase transformer and three phase transformer. So right now we are going to understand about the single phase. Then later on I'll tell you about the three phase. So single phase and three phase. Then we having, as per the functionality, step up and step down, or as per the construction, core and shell. Core and shell. If I'm talking about the core, though in core we always having winding surrounded the core, and if I'm talking about the shell, the core surrounded the winding. In a easy manner, how can we identify? So this, through this we can make a phasor if it is on load. So phasor diagram is there for inductive, capacitive, and resistive. We can say lagging, leading, and unity. Okay, then we having basically, if I'm talking about the phasor, through this phasor we can also easily identify the voltage regulation. The voltage regulation. Through voltage regulation we have, then we can also identify the efficiency, the help of losses, because we have two types of losses in a transformer, not third one, that is mechanical loss. It doesn't have mechanical loss in transformer. That is why the transformer efficiency is higher efficiency compared to the motor and generator. Means it is a highly efficient machine, highly efficient electrical machine, but not in a rotating portion. It is in a non-rotating mode. Okay, so I hope you understand about this thing. Then we have understood about the Sumpner's back-to-back test. Two tests were there also, open circuit and short circuit. In open circuit, we can easily measure the core and magnetic or iron losses, and with the help of short circuit, we can easily measure the copper losses. So while we want two losses, separation of these two losses, because if I want to separate, though I am not able to separate in a one test, I have to do open circuit to identify the eddy current and hysteresis loss, that is core loss, and I have to do separate short circuit test for the copper loss. So there is a one thing for the element, we can say the separation of eddy current and hysteresis loss, that is your the Swinburne back-to-back test, Sumner's back-to-back test. In Sumner's back-to-back test, we connect secondary to transformer of identical nature. Secondaries are connected in series of position, but the primaries are connected in parallel. So we can get two wattmeter in the primary and secondary side. If I am having the we can say wattmeter on the primary side, so that wattmeter is showing you what, that wattmeter is basically showing you or giving you the basically loss rate, that is your core loss. If I'm talking about the wattmeter which is connected with the secondary side, will gives you the copper loss. So in a one test, in a loading we can say, because in open circuit and short circuit it doesn't have loading, but in this we having a loading part also. So while loading we can identify the losses. So that is a good point. Okay, then we have understood about the transformers we have, and transformers type and all this. So today in this lecture, I want to tell you about the parallel operation of single phase transformers. Now what is it? Now see, if I'm delivering a lecture, so there will be some objective of myself. So my first objective is help the students to understand about the basic of parallel operation of signal phase. What is the basic? Why we are going to do? Why we want to do this? Why we have to do this? So that is the basic. Secondly, make students means you familiar with the parallel operation of single phase transformers. So we are considering or one point, that is one topic, that is single phase transformer. Now moving forward, parallel operation of transformers. How can we do? So similar to this parallel operation of transformers, we can do a parallel operation of three-phase transformers also. So I am not taking consideration in this lecture. Why? Because later on I am starting the three-phase transformer. So in that three-phase transformer, I am covering this topic, that is parallel operation of three-phase transformer. It is similar to the parallel operation of alternator, but alternator we are going to study in the next semester. Okay, in electrical machine 2, that is AC machines. So we are going to start our parallel operation of transformer now. Circuit representation. Now see here, why I am connecting these all. Now see, if I am connecting if I am doing the parallel operation, so what is the need, why I am doing this? So my dear student, now see, I am living in a society. That society having 20 flats in it. That according to 20 flat, the we can say 5 MB rating transformer is sufficient according to 20 flats. But the capacity in a society we can enhance, or we can alter, we can change, we can increase. So the owner of that society decide to make 20 more flats in that society. 20 more flats in that society. So what he or she have to do? He or she has to increase the capacity of transformer, because road is increasing, just double. So one thing is there, that first thing which comes in our mind, that sale the that having the transformer that is 5 MB, and 20 is just double. So we can also say that we can purchase from the market just double rating of transformer. Means if I am selling the 5 MB, they would just purchase 10 MB transformer. But the limitation is that, my dear student, if that transformer is under the maintenance, but what can we do? Nothing we can do. We have to just wait for it. We have to use generator for a backup. But transformer is in the maintenance, and if there is will be a fault in a transformer, that I have to basically move that transformer to the garage, to the basically the service station, for the servicing or for maintenance of it. So we'll face a problem, because the company will not give you in a one day. It will take 4 to 5 days, or 10 days, 15 days to maintain it, to for the maintenance purpose or for repairing it. So what I have to do? We have to do that we can use more than one transformer and connect in parallel. Why I'm doing so? For example, I'm a 5 MB transfer, so connect two or more, two is sufficient. The thing is that we can connect two more transformer of 5 same rating, 5 VA, and connect 5 MVA that connect with the load. So it can take the load also, and while there will be some maintenance or the fault issue, we can move one transformer and the another transformers taking the load. So that is the main thing why we are doing the parallel operation. Okay, now see here. The common supply we are getting V1 here, that is the transformer A primary, that is the transformer A primary. We can say primary and secondary. So primary of transformer A, we can say this is all are the transformer consists. So this is primary of transformer A, secondary of transformer A, primary of transformer B, secondary of transformer B. So they are connected in parallel. Why they are connected in parallel? Because we want to increase the voltage level. So we can say V1 plus V2. V1 is from the primary and V2 is from the secondary. If I'm talking about the transformer, so transformer we have two, transformer A, transformer B. So here in this circuit we can represent this is transformer A, transformer B are connecting in the parallel, means primary are connecting in the parallel, and similar to that secondaries are connecting in the parallel. So these are the secondary. We can say ZA is the impedance of transformer A, and ZB is the impedance of transformer B, giving the IA and IB currents V1 upon A1, V1 upon A2, we having the voltage, and VL is the load voltage, and load ZL is the common load impedance. So we are doing parallel. We are making it a parallel connection. Okay, I hope you understand. Now, necessity of parallel operation. Why I am doing so, my dear? So first, to maximize the efficiency. Now I am having a one transformer, and efficiency is low, so we can increase the efficiency by using what? By using this hole. This hole, my dear student, what? If I want to tell you the efficiency, so efficiency we can increase with the help of my dear student, what? We can maximize the efficiency by using the two transformers connected in parallel. If I am using and you are using the transformer connected in parallel, so it increases the efficiency, maximize the efficiency. Availability of supply, always availability. If one transformer is having a shutdown in it, means fault in it, so another transformer can take a load and be having the availability of supply at all the time. So first, maximize the efficiency. Second, availability of supply we have. Third is the flexibility of system. Now system is flexible. What we can do, we can having a parallel operation, so we can make flexible system. So two or three transformer are in parallel. So we can do what? One transformer is for going for the maintenance. So another two will take a load. So flexibility. Now reliability also. They are reliable. How can I rely on it? If I am delivering a good thing to you, then the students can rely on me that sir is telling the truth. Sir is telling the true value. Sir is basically giving you true examples, true things. So the reliability. Why I'm telling you this reliability will be take place because no break in the supply, flexible system, efficiency is increased. So we can say we have to rely on it. If we have to rely on it, so we can say the reliability of system we have. So for the reliability of system, the necessity of parallel operation increases or heavy. We want the parallel operation. I hope you understand. Now, consider to be satisfied for two transformer to be operated in parallel. Now, one thing is very important, my dear student. Now I'm doing a parallel operation, so there are some limitations for me, for you, and a person who are doing this. So the limitations and we can say the conditions are the conditions to be satisfied for two transformer to be operating parallel are first equal voltage ratio. If I am having the voltage ratio for, we can say the transformation ratio V2 by V1 or V1 by V2. So all the transformer which we are connecting in parallel, which we want to connect it in connecting in parallel, having the equal voltage ratio. Having what? Having the equal voltage ratio. Secondly, per unit percent impedance of two transformers should be equal. Now, if I am using the two transformer, they should be the identical. That was it is known as identical. So if I am using two transformers, so the per unit impedance of two transformers should be equal. Then they will not be changed. They are not in the nature of change. So they are equal. Should be equal. Same polarity. If I am connecting positive negative, though I have to connect again same polarity, positive negative. So the polarity will be same. Now the same phase sequence. If I am talking about, my dear student, is if I am talking about the R by P. If I am taking an example of three phase, in this I am doing talking about the single phase. But if I am talking about the three phase, so in three phase the R by B is there, and R by B is there. Means radial blue and radial blue. So the frequency remains same. We can say the phase sequence will be remain same. If it is changed, so we having the negative voltage in one phase. And if I'm talking about the single phase, so phase neutral and neutral phase. So connection should be phase to neutral, not neutral to neutral, not phase to phase. Okay, so this is the phase sequence. Same KVA rating. For example, KVA, MVA, and V. One thing is very important, my dear student. If I'm talking about a transformer, so transformer reading always in a volt ampere, always in a volt ampere we can say, or we can say in a short form V. So it may be the kVA, it may be the V, it may be the volt ampere, it may be the kilovolt ampere, it may be the megavolt ampere. So why I'm using the VA here, volt ampere, because in transformer we are having two types of losses. One is dependent of current, another one is dependent of voltage. So through one loss current is changing, through another loss voltage is changing. For example, copper loss is representation of voltage and another is representation of current, because we are getting the losses with the help of flux. So flux is created or generated by the current. So one is loss representing the voltage, another loss is representing the current. So if both losses are representing to each other, basically voltage and current, so we can't say we are getting the right voltage value. We are getting the actual voltage of current. So we can say the reading of voltage is, the unit of voltage is volt, and the unit of ampere uh, is um, is basically current is ampere. So we combine these two, that is volt ampere. That is what? Volt ampere. It is basically the active power. So same KVA rating we have. For example, if I am having a 5 MVA transformer in the society, which I took an example just before. So I have to connect same MVA rating or KVA rating transformer, not change it. Okay. Now the frequency level should be same. If I am using a transformer of 50 hertz, means which is made by the European country, if I want which is made by the Asian countries, and another transformer which is made by the European country having the 60 hertz. So if I am having the 50 hertz, I am the 60 hertz, we can't able to do it. We can't use it. So same frequency we have. Same phase shift angle. Now I am shifting angle from R to Y to B of with the difference actually degree. So same phase shift I am doing in a primary. So same phase shift in a secondary. Same shift in the first transformer. Same phase shift in a second transformer. We have. So we can say same phase shift angle. Now with unequal voltage ratio. Now there are so many things, equal and unequal voltage ratio. Let us consider the voltage ratio of a transformer. One is slightly more than two. Now the voltage ratio should be same. But if I am taking the case, I am taking, I'm in a consideration, I am taking slightly different thing. That let us consider voltage ratio of a transformer. One is slightly more than 2, that is second number of transformer, so that the induced EMF E1 is greater than the E2. Thus, the resultant terminal voltage will be E1 minus E2, which will cause a circulating current under no load condition. Which will cause a circulating current under no load condition. Now see here. We having the derivation. How can we identify this thing? Now this circulating current having the value that is E1 minus E2 upon Z1 plus Z. E1 is the EMF of the primary transformer. E2 is the EMF of the secondary, or we can say the first transformer and second transformer. Z1 is the impedance of first transformer, and Z2 is the impedance of second transformer. From the circuit we have, basically the circuit I am showing you here. So from this circuit we can write this thing that E1 is equals to V2 plus I1 Z1. E1 is equals to V2 plus I1 Z1, and second equation we can say E2 is equals to V2 plus I2 Z2. Obviously, from first transformer we having E1, second transformer we having E2, but the V2 remains same because we are taking the output of these two. So I1 IL, the load current we having, we can say the load current can be divided by the two transformers current, because that is why we are using parallel operation. Why we are doing parallel operation? Because we want to basically divide the load between these two. Between these two means we having first transformer and second transformer. So E1 is equals to V2 plus I1 Z1, E2 is equals to V2 plus I2 Z2. So the load current will be I1 plus I2. Now V2 is equals to IL ZL, and we can say I1 plus I2 ZL. E1 is I1 plus I2 ZL and I1 plus Z1, and E2 is equals to I1 plus I2 ZL plus I2 ZL. So I put value from V2 is equals to I2 ZL in the equation E1 and E2 equation. So we are getting A and B. Now subtracting the equation A and B, we have E1 minus E2 is equals to I1 Z1 minus I2 Z2, or we can also write that I1 is equals to E1 minus E2 plus I2 Z2 by Z1. Subtracting these value in equation B, subtracting this value in the equation B, so we get what? E2 is equals to I2 Z2 plus E1 minus E2 plus I2 Z2 upon Z1 plus I2 into Zn. So this equation I am getting. I am getting the equation of C. I am getting the I1 equation. This is the I1 equation I am getting and putting into the B equation. So the same equation here, but now it changes from here. So I2 is equals to E2 Z1 minus E1 E2 ZL upon Z1 Z2 plus ZL Z1 plus Z2. E1 I am getting again same value which I have got here. So same value I am getting. Now adding the above equation E1 plus E2, that is the load current. So we are having E1 Z1 plus E2 Z1 upon Z1 Z2 plus ZL Z1 plus Z2. That is the equation number C. So IL is equals to I1 plus I2 now. But IL is equals to I1 plus I2, so we can write V2 is equals to IL ZL. V2 is the output of the output voltage of the two transformers which are connected in parallel. So dividing both numerator and denominator of the equation C by Z1 Z2, so we will get Z1 by Z2, Z1 Z2. So E1 by Z1 plus E2 by Z2, Z1 Z2 by Z1 Z2 we are getting. So through this, if I am having this value L, V2 I am having IL ZL. So we are getting these all value if impedances Z1 and Z2 are small in comparison. If I am talking about the impedance of first transformer and impedance of second transformer are small in comparison with the low impedance ZL, then the project Z1 Z2 may be neglected. So we can also neglect if the comparison with low impedance, so having R small with the low impedance. So we are neglecting these all. So Z1 Z2 remove, so we can say E1 Z1 upon Z1 plus Z2, E1 minus E2 upon Z1 plus Z2 for the I1. But if I am talking about the I2, the E2 Z1 upon Z1 plus Z1 plus Z2, E1 Z1 minus E1 minus E2 upon Z1 plus Z2. So these are the value. But we know that if I am having if I can make a phasor diagram, because unequal voltage ratio, so we are having different phasor diagram, one for the transformer, another for the E1 representing the first transformer, E2 representing the second transformer. So I am making the different. For example, we can say I1 Z1, I1 R1, I1 X1 for the first transformer, I2 Z2, I2 X2, I2 R2 for the secondary. So here this showing you the impedance triangle of the, we can say phasor diagram of the primary first transformer. This showing you the phasor diagram of the secondary transformer. We can make I1 plus I2, and that is the I represent. Means we can say voltage and current I am representing here. That is the phasor diagram. So E1 minus E2 upon Z1 plus Z2 is equal to circulating current. The key point what we are getting, this circulating current IC adds to I1 but subtract from I2. Hence, transformer 1 get overloaded. Transformer will not share the load according to their ratings because the voltage ratio are different. So first is overloaded but second is not overloaded. The phasor diagram is shown in the figure 2. That is a the two transformer will operate at different power factor. Phi 1 and Phi 2 are the power factor angles of these two transformers, whereas Phi is the combined power factor angle. So if they having the different power factor angle, so they are working different. So one getting the overloaded, another one getting the underloaded. Okay. Here EA and EB have the same phase, but there may be some phase difference. There may be phase difference between the two due to some difference of internal connection as per for the connection parallel of star and star data in three-phase transform. If I am talking about the three-phase transform, so this will be changed. But if I am talking about a single phase, so they will remain same. Okay. Now, with equal voltage ratio. Let us now consider the case of two transformer connected parallel having equal voltage ratio. The two transformer having the no load secondary voltage same, that is E1 is equals to E2 is equals to E because same equal ratio. These voltages are in the phase with each other. This is possible if magnetizing current of two transformer are not much different. If I am talking about the magnetizing current, because we are having two components, loss component and the magnetizing component. So if I am talking about the magnetizing current, so if possible, the magnetizing current of two transformers are not much different. If they are different, we can't having this equal voltage. With this case, the primaries and secondaries of two transformers can be connected in parallel, and no current will be circulated under no load condition. But in unequal, we having the circulating current. But if I am talking about the equal, no circulating current will take place due to the magnetizing. Now continue, we can make like this. See here. Figure A is showing you V1, E1, I1, Z1 is there, R1, X1. So I is equals to I1 plus I2 we are getting in a parallel V2. If we neglecting magnetizing component, the two transformers are represented as a shown in figure. If I am neglecting the magnetizing component, so we can make a parallel. If I am neglecting the magnetizing component, so we can easily make parallel here. Now I am making a parallel. Just parallel R1, X1, R2, X2 means Z1 parallel to Z2. We can say just like a parallel operation. But what it will take place when they are having the equal voltage ratio. Unequal voltage ratio, though we are having the circulating current. But if I am talking about the voltage ratio are same, then no circulating current will flow. I hope you understand. Now the above expression are useful to obtaining the values of Q and QB in the magnitude. The key point, the equation contains impedance ratio, hence ohmic laws of resistance and reactance are not required. The two transformers work at different power factor. One operates at high power factor while the other at low power factor in the impedance. So Z1 and Z2 are equal both in magnitude and quality that we can x1 by r1 x2 by r2 we having the we can say the percentage impedance. Both transformers operate at the same power factor, which is the power factor of the loop. So this can be solved graphically also. First we have to draw the current I1 and I2 with angular distance phi 1 and phi 2 of first transformer and second transformer, and magnitude inversely proportional to the resistive impedance with some suitable scheme. The phase sum of I1 and I2 gives the total current I. From loading condition, the phase angle and the magnitude of I can be obtained, which can give the various values of the current. I1 and I2 can be determined. We can make it. Now continue, we having the Z1 Z2 are in parallel, therefore the equivalent impedance is given by I by Z equivalent I upon Z1 plus I upon Z2. Z equivalent Z1 Z2 upon Z1 plus Z2 means parallel operation. Z1 Z2 upon Z1 plus Z2. As seen from the phasor diagram, I1 Z1 is equals to I2 Z2 is equals to I Z equivalent. So I1 is equals to I Z equivalent upon Z1. So I Z2 by Z1 plus Z2. I 2 we can say I Z1 upon Z1 plus Z2. Opposites. We can say that the current division rule. Multiplying both terms of the above equation by the voltage V2. So V2 I1, V2 I2, V2 I Z2 upon Z1 plus Z2, V2 I2 is equals to V2 I Z1 upon Z1 plus Z2. But V2I is 10 raised to the power minus 3, that is Q in the combined load in kVA. So we can also calculate the Q1 is Q Z2 upon Z1 plus Z2, and we can say Q2 is equals to Q into Z1 upon Z1 plus Z2. We having the same value. So for this kVA carried by each transformer is calculated as we can calculate like this. I hope you understand. Now, these are the some MCQs which is related to the our topic, that is the parallel operation of single phase transformer. So for two transformers connected in parallel not having unequal percentage impedance, which statement is correct? Short circuiting of the secondaries, power factor of the one of the transformer is adding, leading with that of the other leading. Transformer having higher copper loss will have negligible core loss. Loading of the transformer not in proportion to their kVA. So option is D, not proportionately. For the parallel operation of two single phase transformer, it is necessary that they should have same kVA rating. First, same efficiency, same polarity is there, but first is the same kVA rating. Okay. Transformer operating in parallel mode of the operation will share that load depending upon their per unit impedances. Option B. What will happen if transformer working in parallel are not connected with the regard to polarity? So incorrect will result in dead short circuit. Make a short circuit, we'll have it be zero voltage. If the percentage impedance of the two transformer working in parallel are different, the option is D. Parallel operation will still be possible, but the power factors at which the two transformer operate will be different from the power factor of the common loop. While connecting two transformer in parallel, voltage around the local loop so equals to what? Zero. That is option C. Now, the voltage regulation for transformer is given by obviously option E. Why transformer connected in parallel should have same voltage ratio to avoid no load circulating, as I earlier told you. Why transformers are parallel? The option is D, that is economical factor, more load capacity, less maintenance. Means whole thing are there. And last MCQ for you, my dear student, that is we only get copper losses from the short circuits. It is correct or it is true or false? It is true. Option is A. Now, these are the references from which I took some material to deliver this lecture. I hope you understand. If you look at it, again a good book of international author R.K. Srivastava, Teenage Learning, having a good content in it, and Stephen J. Chapman is again a McGraw Hill of 2001, and Eiffel Garage again a McGraw Hill. These are very good books available in our library. You can just go and read it, and you can also see the content of good amount of content they have. So these are having the good contents in it and very good books. So thank you from my side for patience with me. Patiently I have listening my lecture. Thank you for this. So I hope you understand about the parallel operation of single phase transformer. So this is all about from my side. Thank you, my dear students.